Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of On the Same Page, Lord Up with Friends. I am joined today by another one of my close friends, one that I mod for and help make evil creatures to kill their party in Dungeons and Demigods, which I enjoy immensely since, some of my friends are in that game, so I get to help try to kill them, which is great for me. But Maddie, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi everyone, I'm Maddy, aka Madloon on the social medias. I'm a dungeon master and player in TTRPG actual plays, along with making TTRPG stupid content on TikTok and YouTube and all of that. Uh, I'm from Australia. Yeah?
Yeah. It's like, what, 16 hours ahead of from I'm at, where you're at?
It's 10 a.m.
Yeah, it's like ish around there. It's close enough. It's like 7:30 here at night. So, but yeah. Anyway, let's just get into it. So I ask everyone this to start off. It's because that's the easiest thing to branch into. But what got you into playing tabletops in general? Like, when did you start, and like, how was your experience with that? And then like, how did you segue that into like content and like APs and stuff like that?
Well, I started off doing lit RPGs when I was a young teenager
Hmm.
um, on just the worst websites. We're talking Wattpad, DeviantArt,
Oh
then onto
God.
Instagram when I gained a little bit more self-actualization. Um, and it was just like I loved the character creation aspect, and I've always loved role playing, and I've
Hmm.
always loved improv acting and doing like a lot of drama at school and outside of school. And then it was like a friend of a friend who mentioned Dungeons and Dragons, and I knew I liked nerdy shit. And then they said that it involved a lot of character creation and role play, and I was like, bitch, I do that all the time. And then infamously, in my first ever session, I had no idea how any of the rules worked, but I did know how to make a character and I knew how to role play. So
Hmm.
it was, he was like, oh, okay, so what are you going to play? And I was like, oh, I'm going to play a high elf sorcerer. And he was like, okay, cool. So tell me about your character. I was like, okay, so he's neutral evil and he is like the long lost noble, and started like giving this intense backstory. And he was like, we're doing a one shot. And I was like, I can't hear you over the fact that I'm killing it. Um, and then, very infamously, in my first ever session of Dungeons and Dragons, I sold the entire party into slavery, doubled their prices by describing just how cool they would be, taking my share of the money and then breaking them all out in one session, and then lying and pretended that I didn't take any money when I had about like 20,000 platinum in my
My
pockets.
God.
um, and then me and my friends did the classic of thinking that we could do a podcast. And I fell in love with the promotional aspect of that because we just
Hmm.
made a TikTok to promote the podcast. And then the TikTok started doing really well. And then I'm bad at editing podcasts. And we went, don't do business shit with your friends. It wasn't for us. Podcasting isn't for me, anyways.
Hmm.
There's too much post work, and that's not good for my motivation. So then I talked to them all and I was like, I just want to do this by myself. And they went, okay. And they gave the account to me. I changed all the usernames and everything, became just Madaloon. And then a guy you might know, our friend Ben Brainard,
Hmm.
reached out to me because he'd watched a few of my class roasting videos. And he reached out to me and said, oh, hey, I was wondering if you could help me playtest the hit die subclasses that he made. And I went, sure. And then he put me in a Discord group chat with every D&D content creator I'd ever looked up to. And I went, holy shit. Um, and then we did an offline playtest in which I completely broke his wizard class to the point that he had to rewrite the entire thing.
I love that. 'Cause
I
I
still
just
hold
met
that.
Ben at Gen Con, and now I'm in one of his playtest servers for a game he's working
Exactly.
on.
Um, and it was with like Daisy and Jason and
Mm-hmm.
Fef. So that was my first time ever meeting those people. And then we then I guess my first ever spot was guesting on Fef's Summer Games, which I was
Mm-hmm.
meant to play in, but I was going to Vietnam, which sucked. But Vietnam was great, no regrets. And I guested as the opening quest giving NPC, and that was my first AP spot. And then it only got worse from there.
I mean, I think that's how it happens. Like once you do one, you just want to do them like a ton. And like I mean, I run fucking so many campaigns that I don't have really the time for at this point. I feel like, in addition to
Legit.
helping you create shit for your campaign because I'm evil, um, which I need to talk to James because James is making me maps for my campaigns now too because he's great. We
Oh
love
my
we love
god.
James here.
We love James.
Uh, yeah, but yeah, and then now you're running Dungeons and Demigods, which is about to be season two, right? What is that?
Yeah,
It'll
season
be out
two.
when this airs. It'll probably be out.
Yeah, season two, from when we're recording this, tomorrow. Tomorrow is our first
That's
episode.
what I thought.
But
I thought it was either this week or next week. I wasn't
I
sure.
think we'll have a few episodes out by the time this airs.
Oh yeah.
Maybe. Exciting. I'm
Yes.
excited.
We gotta have a planning session for stuff so I know what to create for season two.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
they're higher level now. I can throw stronger stuff at them.
Yeah,
It's gonna be
well,
great.
I'm gonna give you some. You already know what kind of monsters I've been leaning towards and what makes them unique. So I
Mm-hmm.
think you'll have some. I'll you'll certainly have some fun making some stat blocks, I think.
Yeah, I like just creating stuff more than I like running or playing sometimes. I think you
Mm,
said you love character creation. Like that's my favorite part of playing over like the actual playing part. I will spend hours just coming up with character concept and creating a character before I even actually touch that character.
yeah, I think character creation is my favorite part, but my second favorite part is I just love role playing.
Role
Like,
playing's fun. I like when it's more narrative. And
mm,
you don't have a ton of mechanics behind it sometimes, which is why I've tended away from D&D lately. But yeah, games where you can just role play and not have to worry about like super crunchy stuff can be really fun. But I mean, D&D also works if you have the right group too. It just depends.
yeah, I think I enjoy the challenge of making everything narrative in
Mm,
D&D. Like the idea of making the rules work for a character and using that as the challenge is what I tend to do. Of
yeah,
like looking at what I've built and making it make sense with that character. Like, why are they good at this? Why are they bad at this? Why do
yeah.
they choose these spells? Because it's always a wizard.
I mean, yeah. For me, it's always a
Mhm.
cleric or at least multi-class with a cleric, so I get it.
I just started session zero of a Chains of Asmodeus game I'm running on Start Playing, and we have two clerics in the party. One of them's evil and one of them's lawful good, and I'm so excited.
I love that for you so much. Man, I'm actually might be playing another cleric soon in another game, which I will not say because it's a live stream game. But yeah, I was looking at possible multi classes for this character. I'm like, I could go back home and dip into cleric. I could make it work. So,
You can always make it work.
I mean, yeah.
Have you ever played a wizard cleric before? A clizzard,
So.
as I like to call them.
um, I don't
They
think
fuck.
so. I think
And the
I
ultimate,
actually had one set up, but that character fell apart because the campaign ended before I even got to use
mm,
the multi-class. They were an Arcana cleric, and I was gonna dip into Blade Singer, and it would
listen,
have been crats.
best multi-class, if you're doing like a high caster, Abjuration Wizard Knowledge Cleric goes
Oh, I
crazy.
mean that made sense. Knowledge cleric in by itself's insane as a dip for anything because it gives you so much
Yeah.
shit off the bat.
Like you get your expertises, and then if you take
I'm stupid.
Warcast,
I've played a knowledge domain cleric with a what kind of wizard was he? Divination wizard.
that's cool.
It was so
Because
crappy.
like, and if you take Warcaster, you have shield proficiency, and now
Hmm.
your wizard has like a 20 AC.
Yeah, and then you give him the shield
Anyways,
spell, and it's 25, and then you're a
period.
take. Yes,
Give him
I.
a Ioun stone or two. Let's get into
What
it.
I'm hearing is if we're ever players together in a D&D campaign, I feel sorry for our GM because we're gonna have crap
Oh yeah.
characters.
I'm kind of like one of those people who I always make characters who are like severely unoptimized just for the vibes.
Mm.
And then I'll get into a PvP and I'm like, oh okay. Okay, let's go. You've
My
given me
characters
permission
are
and then
always
break.
good at one specific thing most of the time.
Yeah.
Whether and if it's not combat, then it's going to be like one of the skills that's going to be optimized in such a way. Because I like playing off the stuff they're not good with, and on top of that,
Yeah. I'm making good at something. It's just sometimes it's not what they're meant to be good at.
I love that.
Like my charisma wizard.
Hey, wizards, there's a such thing as wizards. Okay, they can
Wizards. He's
exist.
literally a wizard. Anyways.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess we can still talk about that a little bit. Why wizards? Why did you latch on the wizards so strongly?
So I think a lot of when people delve away from D&D, oftentimes they say it's because they feel like they've done everything or it's
Mm,
boring now. Um, to those people I say skill issue. I'm kidding, please. Um, I when I play a character, I need variety and I need to have a million things I can do. So then I am forced to strategize in
mm,
combat. And wizards are easily the most varied class simply because they have the longest spell list. So if you organize your spell list correctly, there's about 57 things you can do at any point in combat, and you as the player have to figure out and prioritize which you're going to do first because
mm,
there's just so many things you can do, and in that every combat will be different. Like everyone says, oh, if you play a wizard, you just spam fireball. And I'm like, okay, so you don't know how to play a wizard? What the fuck is going on? Slash, fireball's great, but it's only good in certain situations. And there are, as you start leveling
yeah,
up, it's just so many things you can do. I love how varied it is because I never get bored. And also, really, it's just I fell in love with the spells, and wizards have the most spells.
that
And
is
can
fair.
cast them the most. So I think that's really it. And then also, I just love the aesthetic. That helps. But
Yeah.
it's really just the spells.
I mean, it makes sense. You are like you work with books, so you being a wizard made also traps.
Yeah, I
Um,
work at a bookstore. It
yeah,
tracks.
yeah. I don't think I've ever used Fireball that much when I've played a wizard. The one that did use it a lot did not prepare it. They had the Fireball necklace. So like even then I didn't take the spell.
Uh,
I just had it a free cast a few times a day.
well, the longest wizard I've ever played was in a Hell's campaign. So you don't take fireball because everyone's fucking resistant to fire damage. So
Hmm.
like there's no point.
Yeah.
But the only other time I took it was when I was playing a scribe's wizard because they can change the
Yeah, I was
damage.
gonna say you do a
So
scribe wizard
having
and throw say fireball, they'll get really cocky and it's ice and hits them in the face.
exactly, it's brilliant because like yeah, if you're playing a scribes wizards, you need like big AoE spells because you can
Mm,
basically destroy anything. Like if you've got magic missile and fireball, force fireball, that'll kill anything.
yeah.
It's brilliant.
I mean, yeah, because fire is the I think yeah, fire is the most resisted thing in D&D. I think
And force
necrotic, I
damage is
think
the least.
necrotic and force and psychic are the least, if I remember correctly.
Hmm. I think force takes
Force
the
is top,
cake.
and then psychic, and then I think necrotic. I did the whole breakdown of these for reasons before,
Interesting.
so I
I
definitely
would
have
have
it somewhere.
guessed, yeah, I would have guessed Thunder would have been up there just because it's
I
kind of
think I
random.
think Thunder's also up there because
Mm,
I played a cleric who was Tempest Domain. And I know my Thunder stuff was very potent even against like lightning based creatures, so it makes a
yeah,
lot of sense. But yeah, I'm the same way with characters, and then I need a lot of stuff to do. But instead of playing wizards, I just multi-class literally almost every time I play because I have problems.
yeah.
If Gloria does combat the Dungeons and Demigods and levels up, I might be tempted. Just saying. I don't know what it would be,
Um,
but I have some
yeah.
ideas.
Meanwhile, as all cleric maids of the house know, we could never love a multi-class as much as we love ninth level spells. So I do not often. The only time I've ever multi-classed a wizard was once, and it was for story reasons.
Yeah, wizards probably have like the best ninth level spells, though, to be fair. Like,
Mm,
for me as a cleric, like after sixth level, it's like I could do without them, honestly. Once I
yeah,
get access to heal and harm, I don't really need anything else past that. At high
that's
level,
fair.
I can always just upcast other spells that do just as much damage.
Meanwhile, like I think seventh level spells are my favorites. Like I have the third and seventh are my bread and butter because third is your counter spell, your dispel magic, your fireball, all of that fun stuff.
Hmm.
And then seventh is disintegrate. Wait, it's disintegrate sixth.
I
I
think
think it is.
it's either sixth or seventh. I'm not completely
I
sure.
think it. I think it's
I
sixth.
think I've only used it once.
It's one of my favorites.
Okay.
It is sixth. Okay, I lied. Teleport, Magnificent Mansion, Crown of Stars.
Crown of Stars is really
Crown of Stars
good.
is the most underrated
It's
spell.
so good.
So many good spells. And then most of the time I skip eight. Like there are some good eighth ones, but then you get straight into that ninth. Get straight into that shape
Yeah.
change. I've changed. I've changed my favorite ninth level. My favorite ninth level has never been power word kill. If it's power word kill, you're boring.
Yeah, that's
Move on.
stupid. I give it to like maybe a bad guy
Yeah.
occasionally, and that's it.
Yeah. See, I personally think that power word kill and wish are boring choices because they're just insta kills and I hate that.
I like Wish
My
as a
favorites,
concept, not as a spell that a
yeah,
player can take. It's something they might get
exactly.
as an item at some point. It's not a
Yeah,
spell.
deck of many things. Wish
Yeah.
belongs in a deck of many things,
Hmm.
but it's there we go. My favorite is at the moment is shape change, but it used to be
Hmm.
time stop for a while because time stop can go crazy. Time stop was my favorite for PvPs
Time
for a
stop's
little
great.
bit because I would time stop and then just stack protection spells on myself and then polymorph and then attack people.
Damn. Yeah,
But shape change goes crazy.
my favorite spells are always Spirit Guardians and Call
Love
Lightning.
Spirit Guardians.
After I
Oh,
did my Storm Sorcerer Tempest Cleric, I learned to love Call Lightning a lot. It was so good. Cast
it's
it
great.
literally first turn in combat, upcast it as high as I can as a bonus action with Quicken Spell, and then I get two bolts of lightning, and then I match them out with Tempest Domain, Channel
It's
Divinity,
an
and it's just
insane.
instantly 280 damage bolts of lightning just
I
thrown at start of
do
combat.
I do really want to play a full cleric because I haven't yet. I'd love to. Um, I think I know it's like really I want to play a Twilight going because they're so fucking cool. And I
Hmm.
know like it's the most powerful one and but like also the aesthetic of it all.
Yeah,
It's so cool.
I I want to say I've played every domain at this point.
I have not played every wizard subclass because a lot of them suck balls.
I think actually no, scratch that. I don't think I've played Order. I think Order's the only one I haven't played, if I remember
The evil
correctly.
cleric in my Chase of Asmodeus one is an order cleric. They're a cleric of Bane.
Mm, I don't love their domain spells from what I remember. It's very like charm
Yeah.
based, and it's like I don't really like. And that's like if I play wizard, I've never played enchantment for the same reasons.
I've played
So,
enchantment. My first wizard was an
I
enchantment wizard.
mean, my favorite wizard of class is always going to be divination. After my first character, my
Uh,
first character was a inquisitive rogue, knowledge domain cleric, divination wizard.
that's
It's insane.
insane, but
It
very
it
cool.
was insane. And that was mostly because like I wasn't allowed to take artificer levels in that campaign because they were all their spells were gadgets. As soon as those
Mm,
characters left that campaign, we made them a level 20 to be the NPCs of a new campaign. I switched his
Mm.
levels around, so then he also had artificer levels.
Jesus.
He had just
So I've
just enough for the portents, and then I took all the rest of his wizard levels and put him in artificer.
so I have not played a lot of the wizard subclasses because a lot of them suck. But I have played abjuration, scribes, enchantment. I think I've touched necromancy. Let me look. That's it. I've played those four, but I've played them in lots of different ways. I've played abjuration and scribes the most because they are my favorites. But I really want to play a blade. I really want to play a blade singer
Hmm.
because I haven't yet. And I'd love to try chronergy or graviturgy in a
Yeah.
uh Exandria campaign. I want to play an Exandria campaign
I
so
I
badly.
finished Vox Machina, the animated show, because
It's
I
so
couldn't
good,
get through
bro.
the actual play because it's too long. So I was like, okay,
Oh
this will be
yeah,
my way to get into this.
exactly,
I'm already planning a Pike cosplay, so that's already
bro.
being a thing.
Like
But also, like, I want to run a Taldori campaign now.
it's
I
so
thought of such
good.
a good idea, and I want to do it.
Mm,
It would not be a stream game though. Just I want to just have
mm.
fun with it.
I just want to play it. I just want to play
Hmm.
because everyone's like, it's the classic DM thing of like you really, really want to play it and you end up DMing it. But I've always said if I'm doing an Exandria campaign, I really want to play it. Though I think it would be funny to DM like a Wildmount campaign for my friends who have never seen it, because
Hmm.
then I could just plagiarize and copy it. It won't even matter.
That is
And
so
then the
fair.
Mighty Nine show will
I've
come out and they'll
literally
be
talked
like,
about doing a fantasy high campaign with some of my friends,
hmm,
just based off a little cosplay we did randomly.
well, oh, this won't be coming out for like a month. But who knows? I might still have stuff on Start Playing, and I'm currently getting the seats for a Strixhaven
Hmm.
campaign, which is just fantasy high. So
I
if
mean,
it's still
yeah,
open,
it should be.
join.
Oh man, yeah,
If I still have seats in a month, I'm going to be concerned.
I'm
But
looking
yeah,
at wizard subclasses now. I played blade singing. I
I
think
need to play
I've
Blightsinger.
played scribes. I've played divination,
Scribes is
and I've
broken.
done necromancy. Those are the four that I've
Yeah.
played. I had a conjuration wizard planned, and it was one of the ones I don't think high level. Did not get to play that character. And I was gonna lean heavily on all the teleportation based spells because they were gonna be
Yeah.
a fucking coward. Yep, just
I
every
will
single
say,
one.
have you ever, like, because I did this on stream, you might have been there. I was looking up the class features for a illusion wizard.
Hmm.
It sucks.
It
It's
does.
so
It's really
bad.
bad.
Even
Some of
though,
the schools. That's why some of the schools in Magic are so bad. Some of those class features are
mm,
just so bad.
listen, I'm a wizard main. I love wizards so much, and I understand that most of them suck balls. All right, but you just gotta find the good ones, and the good ones are scribes.
This is another reason I
I
multi because cleric going
yeah
past like higher level features all suck. It's just the early
yeah.
level stuff that's good.
It's yeah, the with wizards, it's the actual class features don't get that good. As you get older, it's the spells get good. So,
Yeah.
but
Once you take whatever
yeah,
damage thing you get at level 8, clerics really fall off after that, class feature
like
wise.
oftentimes with wizards, I will get them to level 17, so they have ninth level spells. And if it's a level 20 campaign, I might take those last three levels and something else.
Yeah.
And probably the ultimate flavor classes are like monk and rogue
Hmm.
because you can get sneak attack. Though, and this is thinking not story wise at all. This
Hmm.
is just thinking of, and this would make no sense really. But probably the best thing to do with that would be to do three levels in sorcerer and get sorcery points for like a wizard and be able to stack that on top. But then again, if you're there would have to be some like weird, like you suddenly find Jesus at the end or some shit. I don't know.
There's
But
always a
yeah.
way to make something story
Yeah.
mechanic wise happen.
But yeah, taking rogue and getting sneak attack,
Mm-hmm.
or any of those little things, or taking monk and getting
Yeah.
unarmed defense. But I think if I was taking 3 levels in anything, I would take 3 levels in rogue, so then I get the like bonus action runaway shit. Um, get get some expertises. That's
Mm-hmm.
great. Love that. Or even taking 3 levels in bard, like getting expertise is getting jack of all trades. That
Yeah.
would be lit.
There's a lot
But
of
yeah,
good like 1 to 3 level divs based on what you're playing.
yeah.
I have to look at those a lot because I always have to figure out what I can dip a multi-class in.
Or 3 levels of moon cleric, moon druid.
Mm-hmm.
Get a little bit of wild shape in you.
Yeah, wild shape
I've
scraps.
played I've played a fighter druid once in a
Yeah.
campaign for Daisy, and that was
I mean,
I was
they
playing.
are nerfing it a little bit though, from what I saw.
Yeah, I think I was a gunslinger fighter with a little bit of druid, moon druid in me. I think I did. I made a joke about that where they're like, "Oh, you're taking like a single level in druid. Okay, you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to get that much moon." Okay.
Ooh. I did not realize
Anyways,
that. I may or may not have opened Gloria's sheet because we were talking about multi-class and they have high charisma. Interesting. We might have to talk after this. I already
we'll
have
see.
ideas for her.
Mm.
But yeah, I think it's far enough into the podcast now to turn it over to you for the lore dump. So why don't you tell everyone what you're going to talk about today and then go crazy?
Well, I'm going to talk about Greek mythology, ancient Greece, just because it's the thing that I know the most about, apart from D&D. But I feel like we've done 2 lore dumps about my 2 special interests, which is
Yeah,
D&D and Greek
I made
mythology.
sure to include wizards in there for you.
So obviously, like every other little gay person, I got into Greek mythology through Percy Jackson,
How
and
dare
then
you?
it just like went apeshit after that. Um, but probably I used to just really be into Greek mythology, and what launched my kind of obsession with ancient Greece itself was when I ran my first Greek mythology campaign, which was based on Trials of Apollo and was a bunch of gods who had been turned mortal and were being punished for their crimes and had to relearn everything. And it was set in ancient Greece. And
Mhm.
I told all of my players when I started, I was like, guys, this isn't going to be historically accurate because I don't have time for that. And then I could write a thesis
My God.
on like ancient Athenian and Spartan society. I'm not as good anymore because it's been like a year, but I used to be able to tell you from from when you sailed up to Athens, the things you would see as you walked through ancient Athens up
Mhm.
to the Acropolis. It was slightly psychotic, but it was
That's
very fun.
that's insane.
So I remember when we started doing Dungeons of Demigods, I was like, I had to unlearn all of that because I kept being like, okay, shit, is that do they still call it this name? Is it called something else now? Like I knew the entire layout of ancient Greece, and then
Hmm.
I had to like relearn all of the locations because a lot of the names have changed.
Yeah.
Where I was like, okay, they need to be in this town, and then I was like, what is that called now? Or like, it's not called Sparta anymore; it's called something else, and all of this kind of stuff. Because especially in the next season, this won't be a spoiler anymore. They're gonna learn this like episode 1, but they're gonna have to track down certain monsters, and these certain monsters are from iconic locations. And I had
Hmm.
to relearn what all of those locations are called and what they look like now, because I learned exactly what they were in ancient Greece in like okay, it was I had it because people historians have been able to kind of give a rough timeline of when they think like the events of Greek myths would have occurred or when the Trojan War might have happened,
Hmm.
which is around 2000 BC and onwards ish. Yeah. But a lot of the information that I had was from around like 400, 500 BC. So I'd always be like to my players, guys, I just want to let you know that this didn't actually happen until 400 BC. And they're like, we don't give a shit, Maddy. And I was like, okay, but what if you fucking didn't look at my peer-reviewed sources or some shit? Do you guys need my bibliography? They're like, it's a D&D campaign. I'm like, okay, but also I need you to let you know that organized crime in Athens didn't exist until this year. Insane. But yeah, it was very fun. Because it was important to me to highlight like the fun parts about ancient Greece, but obviously like with our party, I really don't like including like a lot of like racism and sexism into my games because I think it just makes it a bit icky.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a modernized version of that where it was kind of like these things like we have a show in Australia and the UK called Horrible Histories, which was like a history show for
Hmm.
kids, and it was like jokey joke, violent, and all of that kind of stuff. They also were very like light about those sort of topics, so that's kind of how we went about it. Because obviously in like Athens especially, it was a horrible time to be a woman.
Yeah.
And also in both like Sparta and Athens, slavery was huge. It was everywhere. So it was just kind of like having the parts of it, like the culture and the food and the class systems and the buildings and all of that, but just kind of like cutting out or completely ignoring those aspects. So that's kind of where the fantasy element came in,
Hmm.
just because I think it makes it more fun. So it's just looking back at history, acknowledging it, but also not making it like a downer for everyone involved. But yeah,
That makes sense.
I was.
It reminds me of I just read through a system today that does that. Candela Obscura does that. Like their
Mm,
whole setting literally says it's 1907, like as it would be in your world, just without all the homophobia and transphobia
yeah,
and all these phobias. It's literally your world. We just made our own setting to
I
get rid of all
mean,
of that gross stuff.
we did the same thing in Dungeons and Demigods. We're like, yeah, it's set in 2005. Yes, Ash uses they them pronouns, and no one ever questions it.
Oh
Shut
my
up.
god, yeah, early 2000s would have been
Legit. It's
yeah,
like
it's
I
bad.
even then I remember looking into like 2005 in these different places, and there was a lot going on in 2005,
Hmm.
and just I spent a lot of time deciding whether I was going to talk about or include some of the like especially like financial situations in a lot of countries and whether I was going to kind of include or allude to it.
Yeah.
In the end, I decided to like only really do it if it came up because obviously I'm not from these countries and I didn't want to like betray them in a negative manner. Like I know in the back of my mind, especially what was going on in Greece in 2005, and I know that it's happening in the back of my mind, but I really just didn't want to like portray it in a negative or disrespectful way, but at the same time completely ignoring it can also be a negative thing. So I think I just kind of towed those two lines where really 2005 was like right before there was some like pretty horrific financial troubles in Greece, so it was
Yeah.
kind of like right on the precipice of that happening. So it was really just kind of like acknowledging that it's there and talking about how like some parts of Greece were fairly decrepit and dirty, and then also including the obvious realities of there being like a massive, massive tourist industry, which they nearly always ran into every time they were in Athens. And I especially loved having Hannah as a guest and having her take them through Athens because Hannah is Greek
Yeah.
and speaks a little Greek and knows a little bit about Athens, just especially the food and stuff like that. Like I grew up with a lot of friends who were Greek, so I knew a little bit, but shockingly, I didn't know a word of Greek,
Hmm.
which was strange because I was like, I know a bit of Italian because I also had a lot of Italian friends, but why don't I know any Greek? So strange, but I learned a little bit because I, yeah, have Greek friends who went, hey, how do you say hello, goodbye, and thank you? Um, but that was really fun because it was nice having someone who could kind of really unforced include a lot of the really beautiful parts about Grecian culture, because sometimes when it comes from me, it feels more like I'm just cashing in words and being like, oh wait, look, I know things.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I love uh ancient Greece and all of the culture and everything, but it's definitely nice to reach out to the people close to me who have personal connections to that country and that culture and learn from them
Yeah.
because it helps make it better.
Plus the worth of seeing B and Kiki's face during that one shot was amazing. I loved it so much.
Yep,
It was great.
it was very fun. It
That was a fun secret to hold in for like what, a few months now?
was a few months, yeah.
Yeah.
It was insane because I remember I told so many people. The only other player I told was Faye, and I probably told her like a week before. Like I didn't tell her. We were like on a call and I was feeling a bit manic and I was like, "You want to know a secret?" And then she went. It was very
That's
funny.
such a mood. I really
For
I
those who don't know, we had two players leave after season one of the campaign to join the bad guys side, and Hannah plays D&D. Crit award winner Hannah plays
crit
D&D
award winning Hannah
had
plays
played an
D&D.
NPC who was on the bad guys side, and so I told them that Hannah was going to rejoin as a guest when actually she was secretly DMing that session. So I wasn't in it at all, and Hannah DM'd for me instead, which was
You were the voice in
incredible.
the background a few times.
I think I ended up playing Zeus at one point. But it was I get why other DMs do it. It was so like beautiful to see
Hmm.
Hannah just know the little intricacies of my world and that she like you can tell that she had like done her research and it was just insane seeing it in someone else's hands. It
Yeah,
felt
it's like
amazing.
you're trusting someone with your child, pretty much. You're like, I crafted this
I
whole thing and then letting someone else take the
yeah,
reins. It can be scary,
I
but it's
felt
a good payoff.
handing it over for me was really easy. I was more just like I had expectations of being like I just don't think she's going to delve into much lore and it's just going to be like service level role play. Um because like I don't expect her to learn everything. But
Hmm.
no, she like went in and was referencing back to a lot of things that had happened to these characters and uh I was just like yay people care. It was kind of like a Gen Con meeting people who had watched the show,
Yeah.
and even when people say like oh yeah I've seen the show, I'm like oh yeah like I know people watch it because I see that number every time we stream, but I always have the low expectation of being like, oh, that's cool. Like, you just like watch the pilot or something, or you've heard about it. And then people at Gen Con were just like, yeah, God, I hope Theo and Mila get back together. Like, it was so sad at the end. And I was like, oh my God, holy shit, you have seen it. You're telling me theories. Oh my
I
God.
love that so much. I also just loved Hannah's interpretations of Tyke and Nemesis to them each
Mm,
was so good. I especially love Kiki's mom. It was so great. I love that whole interaction so much.
yeah, because I think we were both kind of brainstorming what we were going to do for Taiki. And all I said to her was, we did end up coming up with the idea of her together, but I just
Hmm.
said, I want, Kiki wants Mila to like come up with a firm decision. And I was just like, I want her to meet her mother for the first time. And I want you to make her so mad. I want her to leave so angry. And then Hannah was like, got it. And I was like, I'm picturing the like Mila thinks that her mother has been paying attention this whole time and
Hmm.
cursing her, when in reality, she has had no idea what's going on and is just now looking because someone told her that her daughter's joining the bad side and is like, oh, and the line that I loved that she like did an incredible interpretation of was the um like I gave you all this power, but obviously you were too weak to wield it.
Yeah, that was so good. I love that.
But yeah, I love Greek mythology. I love the gods, and I probably I know the most about the gods themselves, and then probably the Trojan War. I've read too much about the Trojan War. Um, I know a bit about the Odyssey. I know more about the Iliad. The Iliad was my baby, though everyone's into the Odyssey at the moment because of Epic, which
Yeah.
I'm not mad about. Have you seen Chaos, the new Netflix show?
Hmm.
It's so good. Like, I was kind of
When did it come out? Is it like brand new?
recently, really
Oh.
recently, like 8 episodes. But I was kind of uncertain because I was like, this could be bad, but it's incredible. It's really well written. It's essentially like in a modern world where the entire world worships the Greek gods and everyone kind of knows they exist. Very much like it's set in one of the myths. And it's like a bunch of the classic myths running all at the same time. Like
Ooh.
Eurydice and Orpheus is running at the same time as Ariadne and Daedalus and Icarus and the Minotaur, running at the same time as like Canis, Canius,
Hmm.
which is the Amazon who was then transformed into a boy by Poseidon. Those three are running at the same time. Which, by the way, the Canis they like changed it into this like beautiful trans storyline, and I was like,
God damn, I'm gonna cry if I watch this
nah.
show then. What the fuck?
Yeah, because only women are allowed in the Amazon, and
Hmm.
the mother had received a prophecy saying that she was going to have a male child, and then she had a female child, and she was relieved. And then it turns out that he was trans and ended up having to leave because they were actually a
Mm,
man. And I was like,
that's a little too
it's
real,
kind of
Bethany.
like it's kind of like one of my favorite really popular headcanons that came out after everything with J.K. Rowling was the idea of like a trans femme person in Hogwarts realizing who they are and then being able to climb the stairs to the girls'
I've
dormitory
read
without them
multiple
turning
Harry
into a
Potter
slide.
fan fictions that have Harry as trans, and he finds out by going up to grab Hermione, not knowing about that rule, and the stairs not change it.
I just think it's such a gorgeous little metaphor to say fuck you to J.K.
Oh,
Rowling.
it's
Like,
so that's why I read fan fiction. I read the most queer ass fan fiction that I can find of Harry Potter to be like, ah, fuck
exactly.
you.
I think the beautiful part about when all of that happened was how kind of the coping mechanism of the fandom, because for me
Mm,
and a lot of people, like I do understand that it was a huge part of their childhood that had been completely upended.
yep.
For some people they coped by ignoring it, hate that. But for a lot of people, the beautiful part was that they just made the stories for themselves, and
Yeah,
it was
I
really
don't totally have a Harry Potter tattoo on my arm as a trans woman that I have to cover up the Ravenclaw banner to make it just a raven.
I'm a Ravenclaw too.
Yeah, I'm gonna black the banner. The banner, I think, as long as I cover that up, since it's just a blue raven, I could get away with it being something else. So
Hmm,
I'm just gonna like cover that in black and then put my like last name or something there instead.
fair.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was really gorgeous, and I think everyone then just gripped onto like the Marauders instead and was like, "This is ours.
Yeah,
This doesn't belong
there's
to
a
you. This is
lot of
ours."
Marauder fan fiction. Very gay Marauder fan fiction,
Have you
especially.
read Have you read All the Young Dudes?
No, not yet.
You have to. Like I know it's long, but just kind of start it
I
and just
mean,
don't pay attention to how long it
length
is.
doesn't bother me. I've read like stories with 1.4
Yeah.
million words in like a week before. So
Yeah. That one's five, I think it's 5 or 800,000. I can't remember.
I
But
would finish that in
light
like
work.
in like 3 days.
All right, this is my pitch for you reading All the Young Dudes. So the story is written by this girl who is from England, and
Hmm.
she has a very close family friend who is a queer man who grew up in the 70s and 80s in London. So the actual like you can tell that the entire thing is so well researched and is so placed in the times, especially through like the cultural references and the music. It's genuinely so good. And
Mm.
also like the characterization of Ramus put me off at first because it was not like stuff I had read before. Like, for example, his parents aren't around and he's in a children's home from the
Oh,
start,
that's
which I
different.
was kind of like, oh, I haven't seen that before. I'm really used to his parents being around. And it added so much because really
Mm-hmm.
the really harsh disconnection between Ramus and Sirius and James being from noble rich families, and how that kind of, because this is all happening during like the working class crisis in England,
Mm-hmm.
and all of this happening, and then through the AIDS crisis as well. And you see that all play out. Like, it is, Harry Potter has always been fantasy realism, and she just does an incredible job and it feels just like so real and respectful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also slow burn gay people. And
Yeah.
it is soul
You'll have to
crushing.
send me a link after this.
It is the most kudos fic on archive of all time.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, I'll have to
It's
look it
really
up.
good. Fuck
Um,
J.K. Rowling.
yeah, fuck JT Rowling, fuck turfs. But yeah, let's see.
We've had the most ADHD conversation of you being like caught up about one topic, and I was like, how about
The
four?
episode before this was worse. Me and Abadel does not have a title for their episode because we didn't stay on one specific topic. Like, even as much as we
No,
talked about Greek mythology, it went from like four different topics to the point where I was just like, yeah, this is gonna be called ADHD talk with Abigail.
period. Well,
So,
I will say, um, back to Greek mythology, iconically, in a class once at university,
mhm.
my teacher said something wrong, incorrect about Spartan society. And I had to hold myself back. I was like white knuckling the table, going, "Don't you? I'm actually the." And then afterwards, all of me and the other ADHD gays gathered in a corner while I ranted at them for 15 minutes about actual Spartan society, because I think she'd said something like how Spartans like all they cared about was plundering and wealth, and they like dressed they had a heavy class system about like nobility and stuff, and I was like, wrong, that was Athenian shit, they hated that. The gold was for dowries. That's it. Yeah, they, if they valued simplicity in life, and if, yeah, like all the nobility and dressing like all fancy, they were just
Mhm.
like, it's the fucking Athenians, we hate those guys.
Speaking of,
Them coming together during the Trojan War was a miracle in and of itself. They fought each other near constantly, because everyone goes like the Greeks, and I was like, Greek where? That's a bunch of different mini countries. But they came together because fuck Troy, you know?
I still a bone to pick with you about Greek mythology because we all had a voice chat one night where Maddie came in and gave everyone who their Greek parent was. Do you want to tell him who you picked for me, Maddie? Like, what?
Eris?
Yeah, that's what the
Yeah.
God damn it. And that was like right before Hades 2 came out, and then immediately ran into Eris at the beginning of the game. Like, God damn it.
I
uh,
stood by it.
it's okay. I'll fight you next time I see you.
Listen, Robin's
When I don't
on
have the
purpose.
initial excitement of meeting you for the first time. Next time I see you, I'll just beat you up. It's fine.
Listen, I have no regrets. But yeah, I think I remember doing this first campaign. It was when they went to Sparta. It was them going to Sparta was the session in my life where I've lost the most control over the party and have just rolled with the punches and just being like, sure, yeah. I think I made a TikTok about it, and I was like losing my mind towards the end. This is what happened. Okay, all they knew is that they needed to go to Sparta because also in their campaign, sleep had been turned off. And similar
Ooh.
to in our campaign,
Hmm.
they had to go find a god to get ambrosia from them. And they chose to seek out Ares because Eris was in the party, and Ares is best bros. They like to ride into war together.
Yeah, war
So
and
they're like,
discord
cool.
makes
And so they went
sense.
to Sparta. Exactly. So they went to Sparta. Things you need to know about Sparta. They hate outsiders. This was one of the main reasons why the Spartans ended up falling to the Greeks. Is this is not a bad thing that they do this. We're talking about warfare, all right? Which is that they would attack countries, take some slaves, but would refuse to expand or colonize at all.
Hmm.
They liked where they were and they wouldn't let anyone in, which was one of their major downfalls. Still, don't colonize people, everyone, but this was many, many years ago
Hmm.
when colonization was what you did. It
Yeah.
wasn't even colonization, it was expanding the empire. They called it invading. They didn't pretend. They were like, yeah, this is what we're doing. Fuck you guys. Uh, and it was a society that was often ruled by women, especially when the men went to war. They had a collection of multiple kings who kind of ruled as a council, and they didn't have an army. Instead, everyone learned how to fight. And then when a war happened, they'd be like, all right, everybody, war. And then everyone would be like, okay. And then all fuck off to war. So it was less they had a constant army and more like the entire place was just one army all the
Hmm.
time. Sometimes, and then they would just all pick up and go to war, or the Messenians were like having a revolt again and they had to go beat them back into submission or some shit. But anyways, so party goes in. The men are off dealing with the Messenians, so it's just the women. And immediately, no one wants to let them in. And they're just like, fuck, all right. And two of the players are like insane. So they just decide to like go into a random bar and are like, we just want to get into a fight pit. We want to fight some. And I was like, no one wants to fight you. You're an outsider. They're not even looking at you. So he just goes, okay. I think that Athens is better than Sparta. And I go, and everyone at the party's like,
Oh my God.
and I was like, you see like four motherfuckers walk up to you like, what the fuck did you just say? And they're just like, and then he immediately went like, oh fuck, and then pointed to some random guy and went, he said it, rolls an insane deception check. And goes like, yeah, I heard out the back that he really subscribes to Athenian thinking. And then these spawns just kill this guy and dump him in a pit. And I was like, sick, you guys moved on, I guess. And then one of them decides to go to the death pit where they put all of the like old people and small children. And I was like, yeah, you're in the death pit. And they're like, can I, is there anyone who's not dead yet? And I was like, yeah, there's like some kid who's not dead yet who like is sick. And she's like, sick. I kill him. I was like, okay. So we're playing a Whispers Bard. And when you're a Whispers Bard, you can turn into
Yep.
someone who has recently
Yep.
died.
I've done that.
So she turns into a 4-year-old boy and then goes back into the fight pit and is like, I'm a Spartan now, and defeats a barbarian and a monk single-handedly as a 4-year-old. Um, Meanwhile, the rest of the party goes to find Ares, who is currently watching two women fight over the fact that she thinks that one of them stole the other's dowry, and so they're fighting to the death. And so he's just in the back going, and they woke up and they're like, "Hey, what's up?" And he has the same voice, but is sillier, which is just going like, "Oh, hey, what's up? Hades, you look shorter." And then only gives them ambrosia if they go get a pig from Circe's island. But obviously, I couldn't do that one because.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it was really fun to do Sparta. They made the entire city hate them, and then they had to run away and leave.
Yeah, they murdered a child to take their identity. They
No, they
started
didn't murder
fighting
a child.
about
That child was already dead. Like
Oh,
it
okay.
was, he got like sick, and they were like, "Well,
They just trying to put him out of his misery type thing.
yeah."
Yeah. I,
It's Sparta,
I've
baby.
used that ability once as a Whisper's Bard, and I killed a guard by sleeping with them and then killed them after to take their identity so we could get out of town because we were stuck. It's great.
Real.
It was full
Died
on
by a
Bard
shattered
seduction
pelvis.
shit.
Let's go.
Hey, at
But yeah,
least he went out with a smile, okay? I rolled really high on a check, so I know he had a good going out. So
fair.
it was
Well,
fine.
that party was a lot dumber than our party. They met the Cyclops and killed the Cyclops.
Mm,
So Poseidon
that's
hated them
yeah,
the whole
that's
time.
a very bad
And
idea.
listen, everyone likes to think that Zeus is the wrathful one. You are wrong. Poseidon, it will wreck your shit. So they are very lucky that they have yet to pull his to get his ire
Yeah,
yet.
out of the bid three, Zeus would be the one I'd be the least scared of, to be honest, if they were mad at me. I think it would go
I think
Poseidon, Hades, Zeus.
Hades doesn't really leave the underworld though, but you would be fucked when you died.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
that's
why
fair.
I'd be more scared of him.
Zeus would
Everyone
send someone
dies
else to fuck you
eventually.
up. But
Yeah.
yeah, Poseidon, I would be the most scared of because like everyone thinks I just don't go in the ocean.
He also just the Earth
Earthquakes,
Shaker. Yeah, he just fucking cause
yeah.
earthquakes around you.
Or maybe just a bunch of horses will come and
Yeah,
just
just get
fuck you up.
stampeded. They just
Yeah,
stampede your ass into the ocean, and then you're just fucked. That'd be very bad.
very
Okay,
much so.
last thing before we go on. Favorite Greek god and why?
Hermes,
Yeah, I knew that.
because I enjoy what he represents, which is that, or enjoy what his kind of acts of worship are, which
Hmm.
is it's all about talking to strangers and traveling and gifting things to and respecting the homeless, uh language, dice games, trickery, communication, friendship, currency. Really, it's all about like taking risk in your own life, and trying new things, and also not taking anything too seriously, which I really enjoy.
Hmm.
It's just like the act of um, talking to strangers and uh, seeing new places and experiencing new things and supporting new businesses and that kind of aspect, that the community thing that I really enjoy about him. And also, he's just everywhere.
I mean, yeah.
And he's just a fun guy. I like him.
He kind of has to be everywhere. He's the
Mm-hmm.
messenger of the gods. He kind of has to be. Mine was always Apollo, more for
Mm,
aesthetics than anything else, but also like I love how random his domains are from each other. You got sun, prophecy,
yeah.
music. They're none of them really tied to each
He's
other.
kind of like in his own myths, he's like cool. And in everyone else's myths, he's like insane and
Mm-hmm.
very, he's also an incredibly wrathful god.
Oh yeah,
Um,
100%.
yeah. But so is his sister. They're both like
That's
that.
why they're twins. It made
Mhm.
sense.
That it does.
Artemis just gets a little more attention because she just kills men in general. And
That she does.
men don't like that. But yeah, I think this is a good place to wrap it. So why don't you tell everyone where they can find you? Anything you want to promote around this time besides, Dungeons and Demigods, but
Yeah,
go
go
for
watch
it.
Dungeons and Demigods. Otherwise, I'm gonna stop playing. You can go check out if I have any campaigns running if you want to be DM'd by me. Otherwise, please check out my YouTube channel, subscribe, watch the Dungeons and Demigods VODs because we're trying to reach partner and I would really appreciate it. Um, Other than that, I'm always on TikTok, Madaloon, where I make my dumb little videos. Though, if you actually want to support me, because I'm still Australian and still don't have the creative fund, just following me on Twitch, subbing, tipping if you want, um, and YouTube, where you can support me the most.
And Dungeons and
Thank you so
Demigods
much.
does have a Discord. You can come
That
hang
it
out with
does.
all of us and talk
You
about the
can.
show.
and Greek
So
mythology.
yeah, it's great. Go join it. But yeah, I will have Maddie's links and I'll even put their start playing in the intro to these episodes. You can watch these on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Podbean. But until next time, we will see you guys later.
Bye.